The following program is an official presentation from Plastic Battles.
Episode 3 now of JOETOGRAPHER, and we are wrapping up the final set of images from this Dossier number 1 from Belgium, Netherlands, 1989. I am joined in this episode by none other than Chris McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80 from the Full Force. We go a little longer on this one, get into some of the translations of the text inside of here. Probably should have done that with the first two, but came up organically in this one and we just did it. After this episode, I'll take a little break. Then I'm going to record some more episodes on Dossiers 2 and 3. There's 2 more of these from the same time period. So, yeah, look forward to those. But for now, let's get right into it. Episode 3 with Diagnostic 80 starting now.
Now hit it.
Chris, thanks so much for joining me for episode 3 of JOETOGRAPHER.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, this is great. I've done a couple of these. We're still trying to iron out the wrinkles, but I had done the Benelux ones. God, I don't know. The Benelux one I did a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and I know you were jazzed about that. So I said, well, I got to get Chris on for one of the future ones, and here we are.
Here we is. The Benelux catalogs, man, are just some of the most iconic, there's some of the most iconic photography of all human history. Not just toys, not just G.I. Joe, all human history. No, I think that's what AI. If you ask AI what the Benelux catalogs is, I think that's the answer. That's what it comes up. Yeah, that's what I'm reading. I'm reading from a prompt as we speak. No, like they knew how to do it right. And it's, I don't know, just some amazing things that obviously we'll see as we go through the pages and everything. But my God, we saw some beautiful photography from Belgium and Netherlands and so on and so forth.
Yeah, what we're going to talk about today is I got a letter from Belgium a few years ago.
Cool.
And in that envelope contained 3 dossiers full of product photography. And we're talking about some of the images in this first one here. But after these 3 episodes are done and out into the world, I will start in on this one, and then we'll go into this one. So there's
Lovely
some
stuff.
Amazing photos in these, and it makes me wonder, like, how come, like, you didn't see these across the pond, right? You were
no,
so this is more like Northern Europe.
Oh yeah, like I wasn't aware of the existence of these Benelux catalogs for the longest time, probably like well into my 20s before I saw these. So I was like, in 1989, I was like, I'm just trying to think now what we had we were like 2 years into the International Heroes rebrand. I had visited the States in 89 as well. So I got like a few of the American product catalogs. And in some cases, I'd managed to get hold of a couple of import figures and vehicles. So I remember we went into a store in like Scotland somewhere, and I think it was the John Menzies or something like that. I've actually told this story in the past. I think someone corrected me on what the actual store was called. It was in Scotland, and in there they had a pulverizer, and I remember getting that pulverizer, and it was a Canadian version. So it had the Canadian insert and all that kind of stuff. So you had the mail away for Canada. You had Canadian like flags on the tampos and everything.
Yeah.
I think the same thing happened with the Sky Shark that I had. I think that was an import figure, import vehicle. So, I I knew I probably had I didn't really think about it, and I think if I'd have been tested, I probably would have assumed G.I. Joe was sold in Europe at that time. But I never really saw it. I never really kind of was, out there looking at toys in Europe at any point. I
so you would have been getting.
I went to Belgium and France though when I was younger, but I don't remember going to any toy stores.
Oh, man.
I know.
This would have blown your mind probably if you saw this stuff. So you got the Canadian, North American, whatever catalog, which is the same as the US one.
Pretty much.
And
apart from the addresses when they tell you where to send the mail away thing.
Right. Well, yeah, it depends. If it's the insert right into the boxes that just shows you the current offerings that are on store shelves, then then by 86 they started to kind of just put them on like solid color backgrounds without dioramas, and the only time you'd get some diorama photography with Joe's from Hasbro marketing would be like in some of the mailaways. Some would have them, some would not. Some would just be illustrations of the
right. Like one thing I liked about the product photography in the UK was some of the product leaflets we would get from 87, 88, 89 and 90, I want to say. They had like, you can see it's from like, like they'll have Recondo on the tiger paw, that sort of like image, that classic one where he's kind of got the different the deco and everything. The unreleased Recondo deco, basically
the best deco probably ever.
It's phenomenal, isn't it? It's absolutely phenomenal. And then but they had the pictures of the vehicles were like in like little squares or like rectangles or boxes basically, but you could see they were on diorama backgrounds. And then they had like the lineup of the figures standing on like the rocky crags and all that kind of stuff. Like I used to love that stuff, man. And they really pushed the dios with the backpacks, the motorized backpacks, didn't they? Everywhere. We was always dios with the motorized backpacks.
Yeah, we'll see some of that today.
Yes,
and
we shall.
It's funny how that they when you think of it as a product line, right? They're like, well, we got the figures. Now we need something cheap to go with the figures. That's not necessarily a whole vehicle that can pull people into the line. And so you have these little like, price point hits. We got to get something that fits into this price point. And who knows, maybe they made a deal with a wind-up factory and they're like, well, we made a deal with this wind-up factory. We got to put these motors in some of our toys.
Exactly. Yeah. Did you ever see the Battle Action Force annuals? Have you ever seen those? The UK.
Yes, I have at least one, if not two.
There's like one on the front. You've got like Duke looking at the kind of main camera with the green helmet and like roadblock, and then all of like it's like in the distance. You got all the vehicles like attacking each other. It's really cool.
I've got one with a bunch of Tiger Force on it.
Oh, okay. That is okay. So we're going back before that. We're going to the Battle Action Force.
The Battle Action. Is that the red 80, and the print?
Yeah, red and yellow.
Print? Yeah.
So but I say that, but the annuals were like completely different. They were like.
Were they hardcover?
Yeah. Have I got an example of one? I don't.
I feel like I have one. But
effectively
not within arm's reach.
They have in them the most beautiful product diorama display photography showing that 85 lineup of what was Palatoy doing G.I. Joe figures in that last year. And
I wonder
the dios are amazing.
All right, I'm gonna have to dig and see if I have.
I think I sent them to you years ago. I think years ago I sent you a bunch of them, like a long time ago.
This is probably after I did the Benelux one.
Yeah,
that's starting to come into focus a little bit.
Yeah, but anyway, that's another kind of example of me seeing these dios at a young age. Basically, they were great. They were so good in those books.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna get into some of it here today, and I know we're way into this because we got totally hooked on talking about this. But maybe there's two people out there who don't know who you are. So real quick,
let's move them out.
So you run the Full Force, which is a podcast. Is that kind of what you would classify it as, a podcast, right?
It's technically, yeah. It's more a video series now, but the Full Force podcast just seems to make sense. And also, I think there's already a Full Force band out there from like the 80s, so it kind of gets a bit confusing sometimes. So Full Force podcast just kind of like, differentiates it enough. But
That
yeah,
makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
it goes out as an audio thing as well. But yeah, for the most part, we are a video series, a YouTube channel, effectively, is what we are now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you
Look at
do a
all
lot
that.
of live
Look at all
videos,
that.
weeklies.
Lots. Like
Look at 'em all.
depending on the news, it could be anywhere between 7 episodes a week or like 2. Like it just depends what's going on. But I try and get well, obviously we do the weekly every week, every Saturday. And then for the rest of the week, I want to do like a minimum of like 1 or 2 videos a week, but I'm more than happy to do like every single day if there's plenty of news to talk about.
Right. Yeah,
do
it's not like the
interviews as well.
dark days
No.
a few years ago when there was nothing to talk
God,
about.
do you remember that? It was like a pair of sneakers or like some shade came out.
There's a T-shirt at Walmart that had a Joe logo on it.
Oh my God. We went nuts when that T-shirt dropped, man.
Yeah.
I remember people like everywhere were just rushing to Walmart immediately to try and grab it. The hoodies.
Yeah, there's that, and there's a sweatshirt. There's a sweatshirt,
the hoodie,
like a hoodie,
zip-up hoodie. That and the
I went to some
Transformers
Walmart in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it was there. And I was like driving between states, and I just stopped in off the freeway, and I'm like, there's a G.I. Joe hoodie. I was like, oh, I'm buying it. I'm like, can't not buy it.
I was so excited, man, when they came out. So excited. It was ridiculous.
What's your most, let's see what your most popular video
that
was.
one.
This one?
Snake Eyes Top 10 is the most popular. That got like 9.
Really?
Oh, we're at 20K with Snake Eyes.
20K.
Top 10
I see
Snake Eyes versions.
None of these look like the Snake Eyes, though. These guys look like Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
And then
it's
the next one,
Sunny Crew in the thumbnail there.
Oh, I think, what did I even put that in there for? Oh, the duster. Because Mac's wearing a duster.
Yeah.
And one of the figures in that top 10, spoiler alert, is the Renegades one. The one with the long jacket. So, yeah, spoiler alert.
That's crazy. Yeah, so it just proves that like anything with Snake Eyes in it somehow gets attention somehow, you know?
I did that ages ago as well. What was it?
Yeah, it says 4 years ago.
4 years ago. My goodness.
And you're almost at 6K, I see here.
Yes, that's really close now. Yeah,
oh
we're really probably like I think it's like a maybe like less than 100 people, less than 100 subs basically. So if we can get to 6K by the end of this episode, then fantastic.
That'd be weird because we're pre-recording this, so that would just mean somewhere out there.
Just keep holding on to this episode until I get to 6K. Could just do
Someone's
that.
driving down the street randomly, going to get lunch, and they're like, I really need to subscribe to a G.I. Joe news.
Ting.
Wonder if there's one out there. I don't know why I feel this way, but
it's funny how the most popular after that one is one of the most recent ones at Toy Fair. They interviewed Lenny on the floor at Toy Fair. That's smashed through 13K, which is insane.
That I knew was doing well because I think I watched it again at some point and I saw how many views were on it. I honestly thought, I'm like, that'll probably be the one, but it's not. This is the one. That's cool.
We're never beating that Snake Eyes top 10, mate. I'm telling you, I've never beaten that in a million years.
Do a Snake Eyes like bottom 10.
Bottom 10. That's actually a really good idea. I'm gonna do that and see if we can get 20K out of that video.
And then you can see what the algorithm likes. Does it like more negative criticism or the positive?
If that's the case, it'll probably hit about 6 billion views if that's the case. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that Sergeant Slaughter overdubs is up there as well. What was that, like 9 or 8K or something?
8K.
That's the Sergeant Slammer, the Action Force overdubs video, which is absolute work of art.
Well, there's a lot of like nostalgia in here too, which is weird. It's like nostalgia about nostalgia. But if I come in here and I see like this episode talking about Vipers.
Oh my God, Serana.
Yeah, like
the Crimson Guard and Dusty Wave.
It's so funny to think that we're 5+ years into Classified now. And,
oh my God.
To watch some of these old videos talking about like older Classified waves early on, it's pretty crazy.
Scarlet and Roadblock revealed. What?
This is 5 years ago. There you go.
It's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
crazy.
crazy.
Look at the old school graphics as well. That's hilarious.
You had the 24-hour news cycle graphics going.
Exactly. Like proper basic stuff. Shout out to Brian Sauer. He does all of our beautiful graphics now. Thank you very much, Brian. But yeah, that is the full force. And you can check us on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, on Instagram, on Threads, on Blue Sky, on all of the different Podbeans, like things like all the audio places you can find us. You're just everywhere. I'm
supposed to say something like, I'll put the links in the comments, right?
You won't.
All right. I'll put them in.
Put every single one in. There's like 1,000. I'm kidding.
Yeah. I'll put your socials in there. Yeah. Why not? That's what they're for, right?
I'll send you a little, I'll just send it to you so you don't have to, you can just copy and paste it in there. How's that sound?
Sweet. All right. Sounds good. All right. So should we transition roughly without a good segue, just transition straight into some of the photos, just Mack truck, Rhino, battering ram right into the photos.
If this doesn't do it, I'm going back to selling insurance. Let's go! Yo, Joe!
To our first image, and it is Hydrovipers taking a bath.
Oh, I love this. The sauna. This is the Roman baths kind of situation, isn't it?
Yeah, and this is a catalog from Northern Europe, so it'd be like, how do they say it? Sauna. I don't know how to say it. Sauna. Like how they would say it in Finland.
Yeah.
Sauna.
Isn't it like just amazing how much detail, the level of like extra they went for these dio shots when
I know.
Were they even necessary? I'm just throwing this out there. Were these dio shots necessary, or did they just go ham on it for no reason?
I talked about this with now we're in the future now, right?
Correct.
So in the past, I had talked about Mylar about this, how funny it is to think about, today we have this whole like toy photography subculture sort of.
Right. And it's probably grown from this, by the way, hasn't it? It's probably grown from all this stuff.
I would say yes. Yes, it's ingrained, whether it's G.I. Joe or some other toy line that did these kind of dio, like I think I've seen like in humanoids in cool settings and in Transformers too. And so, but the person doing these photos in 1988 probably is just like a photographer who does product photography, and this is a job, right?
Exactly.
And I don't know, like I wish I could find out more about the behind the scenes. I've gotten sort of close, but then the trail's gone cold. Where the photographer are they doing the dio setups, or do they have stylists and art directors doing the setups, and they're just the photographers that's there to shoot the photos and tell his assistants how to light it. Right. Like what is the interplay between all the moving parts here? But to think about this guy or this woman, whoever this was who did these photos, they could have been shooting, I don't know, Rolexes one day, and then the next day they're shooting some Nestle Crunch Bar on a
I
table.
like these. I like what you've done there. You've basically thought of things that would be very prominent in that area of the world. You could. I was expecting to say, they could have been shooting like a McDonald's thing, or this, that, and the other. But you're right. They would have been doing, like the most basic. Like European shiz, like Toblerones,
right?
And stuff like that. Like that's what they're going to be taking. That's what they're going to be taking pictures of for sure.
And and then they get this Hasbro job, and they're like, okay, here's a bunch of figures. They don't know what this. Maybe their kids have them, maybe they don't. But they're like, what? I have to now. They're like, I have to pose these. I have to put these into. I have to tell a story because they're like little people. So that completely changes the thought process of the photographer who's just shooting chocolate bars into
exactly.
I know where are they just hanging out? They can't be hanging out on the table. So now they're like, we need
environments.
Yes.
And they're looking at these figures probably, and they're going, okay, well, this is an underwater guy, so it's going to be water based. But then to do this, like almost like an infiltration of what appears to be some sort of like island or something. So they're kind of like infiltrating the island. You've got this sort of like the waterfall aspect as well is just, I mean, because I'm pretty sure they're not doing a lot of After Effects at all, are they? They're not doing a lot. I can't imagine they've really got the tech at that point to do something other than, I don't know, like hand touch-ups, like
Yeah, it
clearing
would have
something
been.
off.
Yep, it would have been manual. Like if you hung something with like fishing line and it wasn't out of focus enough, you might have to retouch that manually to get it out. But if you
But
even
like,
cared, but
but
that
in
would be about it.
this case, to get them all in the right position and then to rock that water, which is obviously they're pouring like a little bit, they're splashing a little bit of water down the rocks each time. Just, I don't know, because the other danger you have with water is, and I'm sure you're aware, I know you're aware of this. It doesn't scale very well because water like is a specific, like the droplets are a specific size. For the most part. So sometimes it can look a bit weird, and I think they've done a really good job of sort of like hiding that and still making it look really real and dynamic and action packed. It's so cool.
Yes, I think the water in motion helps, right? So the shutter speed that they shot this at, it's not completely blurred, right? So you're not having a super slow shutter here, but it's slow enough to catch some of the motion, which helps to blur that. And then also just about like how these are arranged. A lot of these photos throughout this catalog and others, they're showing like, I can see an advice from a photographer now saying crop in tighter, crop in tighter. You want to see the product, crop in tighter.
Yeah,
even
also,
light it.
They'd be saying like,
better.
they'd be saying negative space, all that kind of stuff, wouldn't they? Like, you're right, totally.
But this is about showing them in the environment. The environment is very important to selling the shot, because you're selling these to kids who are going to want to envision playing with these outside in the elements somewhere, right? So
100%.
if you cut off too much of that environment, you're minimizing the storytelling and the fantasy of it.
100% agree with you. And I think there's an element there as well of like, if you cut it off, like you're saying, it minimizes the child's, like it forces the kid to have to think even harder or imagine even harder where he can play with these figures, or where that child can play with these figures. Like you say, we're giving it the full space kind of like opens up a bit, and then it sort of like allows that kind of like, there's a similar kind of rock formation, or there's a similar little thing out in our garden, or it's like, I'm going to do that, but in like this pond. And like, you just get these really cool ideas. I'm not saying it would be completely hampered if you trim the top off and you just had them in the same like frame, but it definitely makes sense to show almost like the distance they have to cover to infiltrate this island. This isn't an easy thing, and they're specialists, and they're doing their thing, sort of thing.
Right, that's a good point, and that actually comes up several times in these photos. Is the distance they're going to travel, or where they are and where they're going to. Right, and what's cool here is they chose 3. They could have chose 4. They could have chose 2.
Is this a rule of 3 thing, Paul, or do you think that's just what they had?
I don't know. I would tend to. There's everything here. There was a decision, right? There was a decision at some point. Everything from to shoot this vertically, to frame it, to shoot at this specific angle. The waterfall was an idea, right? It's coming down in a certain spot, right? Which kind of leads you down to the group of 3. And then the 3 kind of take you around the edge from the bottom corner up, and then the waterfall down. I think there's, framing as a photographer, there's probably shot, who knows how many shots here. And they're shooting film. So there's no way to review this in time.
Yeah, you got to
So they probably are doing as much in camera as possible.
Yeah.
And then shooting at different exposures and trying to get the right mood too. That's another thing here.
It's a skill in itself, isn't it? Like, seriously, like the quality these guys had to do this is insane.
Yeah, they had a lot to consider, right? This had to be printed, and then there's the whole printing process was a different situation back then. So there is a lot going into this, and I think, another thing that you might, cropping is one. Another thing that you might default to is like, it's a little dark. We should probably brighten this up. But the more you brighten it up, the more you can see the products, right? This is product photography. But the product, the visibility of the product goes up, but then the mood of the scene goes down.
The whole narrative gets destroyed because this is obviously a night infiltration in a difficult part of the island. That obviously the enemy. This is going through my head. The enemy who are on this island are not expecting an infiltration from this point because it's difficult and it's got like a waterfall and it's not an easy sort of climb. So I'm expecting that they've recce'd the whole area, the whole coastline for like hours or days, and then these guys have gone in. You know, maybe on those little submersibles, come up here, you know, like swum from like from way off, like, you know, like miles to get to where they are so they can be undetected. And so this is like the whole thing is like, man, these guys are badass. Like I need to get these figures because these are like the creme de la creme of underwater Cobra operations kind of thing.
Yes. And one more thing I'd like to point out too is I think that first of all, it's funny that you think that is the narrative, and I felt like it was the same thing going on unsaid.
Right.
We didn't talk about this, but I feel like yes.
Yeah, we haven't. Yeah, genuinely haven't talked about this at all.
Yeah,
Paul and I.
Yeah, so this is like interesting that is coming across from such a simple shot. And the other thing I want to say is they did not overload the background with vegetation and color, and there's not a lot of green and color and other things here. It's very monochrome. So is the water. The water's not a bright color. It's just this almost muddy color is the rock, so that the bright colors of the Hydro Vipers really pop out of here.
Yeah,
you know,
it's amazing.
I love how the yellow triangle really pops off their masks.
It's amazing. Yes, big time. It's amazing to me how much the colors do pop and at the same time look really sinister, mysterious, and almost camouflaged. It's weird because it's finding that balance. It's almost like they've got, you know, on today's kind of situation, with, you know, you take a picture, you maybe go into some of your settings in Photoshop or whatever, and you start like moving the dials to try and get the balance right. They've done that by just going click. You know, obviously the prep and getting everything in the right place and the lighting and everything, and then just kind of getting it right and taking a few shots. Whereas now we could take a few shots and that range of like that error, that margin for error is a little wider because you can go in and you can change the lighting and you can change this and change that. You can maybe even, you know, like nowadays you could go in and you could highlight the actual figures and bring them out a little bit more and things like that. So
you could totally change the colors on these. And if you shot raw and you put it into a raw inside a Lightroom or the raw filter in Photoshop, and you know, I just did that with the one Serrana shot where everything was very blue, and as I put it into Photoshop I was like, I kind of want some purpley or pinks in here, and I was just able to shift the colors, no problem, you know.
Big time. But this is beautiful. And I love it. And obviously the Hydro Viper, as you are fully aware, is my favorite Cobra anything ever.
Yes.
Like it's just beautiful.
Which is why I reserved this one for you.
I appreciate it very much.
Because also, by the way, they know they're looking right at the viewer. I like the bottom right corner. That one is like breaking the fourth wall. He's just like, hey kid. He's almost saying like, you coming or what?
Are we doing this? Do you know what? That is another subtle thing that I didn't notice when you've mentioned that. I wonder if that is a thing on purpose. Not for that necessarily, but when you look at each figure, you've got different aspects being highlit. So obviously you've got the face on at the front, so you're seeing the full face from that angle. Then you've got the guy in the middle who's like slightly to the looking to the side, so you're seeing almost like a slight turn. And then you've got the guy almost with his back to you, almost. So you're seeing like as a kid, you're seeing the product all the way around. Almost you're seeing like almost most of the figure out of the water with the arms and the legs. You've seen one flipper at least, the backpack, all that kind of stuff is on show. And then the other guys, you're seeing the harpoon gun very clearly on the middle guy. Even the webbed hand is on show. Both figures are showing the webbed hand. So you're seeing all the details in different ways in each of those different three figures. And I'm sure that's like a purposeful thing.
I think you're 100% spot on. Yeah, that's just why probably the reason they want to show numbers of this guy, right? They didn't work in any other figures into this scene. They could have wedged in another Cobra in here, a leader or something.
Yeah.
But they just focused on these guys, and then they give you the different. It's almost like a different turns. You got different turns. You turn it so many degrees, turn it so many degrees, so you could see them all. But it's not like he's at a turntable, right? You just show multiples. They're troops. Why not?
And it also helps with like this is something that just kind of popped into my head. I haven't thought about this at all, really, but it does also hint at the possibility of it being one person, and you're following them in different. Do you know what I mean? Like you're following their ascent, as it were.
If this was an illustration, that would come across probably very easily. It's a little tougher on photography, so but it could totally be that. You could even blur if you shot a couple of frames between each of these positions, and then made those translucent. Yeah, then you would sell that, which would be pretty fun.
I don't think that is the case, but it does sort of like lend itself to you're seeing different stages of this one figure. And obviously I think there's a lot to do with showing the figure off, especially when they've gone with the decision of making it dark and they've made it very sort of atmospheric, very like difficult to really see all the details. But at the same time, man, like part of the beauty of this figure is the mystery and is the darkness and is that kind of like real like kind of monster level sort of character. So I think that creepiness has to really come through, and I think it does perfectly on this. Absolutely perfect. The other thing I was going to say, Paul, when you were talking about they could have added another figure, they could have gone even further with it. They could have done like a lower ledge, so you could see characters on the edge, like guards, or like like a post, like checkpoint, but like a defense, basically. But that is also part of the beauty of this is, you don't know what's up there, and you're like it's almost making you want to turn the page of the dossier to see if there's another part of this storyline, sort of thing.
Right on. Demon of the Deep, right? That was the internal code name of this guy.
Love it.
And how excited are you for an inevitable classified version of this,
mate? If that doesn't come in the next, if we don't get that in 2026, I'm going to start riots. I'm not even kidding.
This is one of the figures that is just, I don't know what the word is. This is like a preemptive strike to an obvious, like they preemptively struck in 1989, right? 89 or 88? I always get this one mixed. For an inevitable, larger scale, more detailed one 40 years later. You know?
I think it was 89.
Yeah, I would say it's 89. No,
it was for us. It might have been 88 for you.
Yeah, because Undertow messes me up because Undertow's 90, right? And he's Destro. And
I think we had it in 89. But I think you guys had it in 88.
Yeah, 88 makes sense. And but like he's just all of the details, the webbed hands, all of the detail that they couldn't paint on this one, that are all just a single color. Like on the card art, his vest is like a dark navy or black, but here it's just all purple. Like they could just do so much with him.
It's going to be, I think it's going to be beautiful. And obviously, if we don't, we will have to get like a Devil Ray as well. Like that has to happen. He has to have a Devil Ray. Like there's no doubt about it.
Make it extra large and like. I go both ways on this. It could be like cool. A literal manta ray, like a pet. Or it could be like a robotic one that's also like a sea sled that he could ride.
That would be rad.
You know what I mean?
Rad, yeah.
That would be sick.
I think I'd be happy if they did some sort of giant Devil Ray sort of thing, like a figure pet set. But I also know how difficult that could be to get it to that sort of price point. Because again, like articulation points would be difficult. You're probably better off just doing a smaller one or a smallish one and releasing them as an army builder sort of price point, like a spirit and freedom sort of situation.
Well, think about a manta ray, right? There's no real articulation points, right? Doesn't have any joints, right?
Just be wibbly.
So put the wire inside of it and have the wings be able to like wire into positions.
That'd be cool. Yeah,
because it kind of did that a couple times so far, right?
Yeah, they did it with Crockmaster's Fiona, didn't they? They've got that tail.
Yeah.
So it's doable.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on. I think we've talked this one to death.
Sorry, that's my bad. It's just my favorite. It's my favorite.
No, I'll go. I'm the one running the show here, but I will go all day. I will go all day with this. There's so much, because the more you talk about it, the more thoughts.
The more you see, yeah, exactly.
It's like a breadcrumb trail of thoughts.
Exactly. I also think we should definitely be coming up with narratives for each of these as well, like what we think is actually happening, why we think the character is doing what they're doing, that sort of thing. So,
all right. Well, the next one will be perfect for that. So I think we got the narrative here down. I'm really curious about the next one. All right, ready? Here we go. Pow.
The pig of the road.
I'll let you start. You go to town on this, and I'll give you my thoughts.
I will first off say, I think they have gone above and beyond with this one. Like so much is going on in this shot, when yet so little is going on in this shot. Like it's a very simple thing where Road Pig, it looks to just be smashing the place up. Mm-hmm. He looks to just be destroying it, breaking stuff. And it's already ruined. Like the place has already been bombed by the look of it. Right. Done all that damage. Could possibly have done, like, just to show the actual like character again that we're dealing with here. Some sort of like next level meathead, sort of like insane strength, insane brutish destruction. And I kind of look at all of the trash and everything, and it does look like a bomb has hit that building. But at the same time, there are lots of little square elements broken out, and you just kind of think, are they trying to insinuate here that the cement block has taken that section out? You know what I mean? Like kind of like carved out these little square little blocks and everything. And you hit a wall hard enough for a while, it's probably going to kind of crumble. Yeah. And you can kind of see him doing this. So for me, in terms of like what's actually going on here, not much, but at the same time, so much is filling that image, isn't it? Like all the different like textures and layers, all the different all the depth going on, all the different walls, the different like the interior like mesh that's like the metal wire, like like the kind of rebar that they put in the cement and the kind of showing, like loads of cute stuff like that, which is something that I don't think many people would have given a crap about or even bothered to include. It would have just been like a broken wall in other situations. But here they've gone like, let's diorama the crap out of it and let's really go for it. And it's really fun, I think, this particular image. Yeah,
I love that he's alone. And he's kind of in the center of a very, portrait, vertical image. He's not dead center, but he pretty much is, and he's not in motion. He's kind of like in a pose as if he's ready to slam something down. Very
he's resetting, isn't he? He's almost like resetting the position sort of thing.
Yeah, they don't have to go crazy. Like it tells the story. He's got a giant cinder block thing. He's a big old meathead, and he's standing in ruins, and he looks like he's about to use his hand. Like they don't need to do much more than that. We know he had something to do with this, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why. Now I'm assuming he's pissed off. Maybe he got there and everyone had eaten the chocolate donuts, and there's just an empty box of chocolate
This
donuts.
was a Dreadnought safe house.
Yeah, this was the garage. This is the Dreadnought garage, and he just went crazy. Little did he know, they put him in the fridge for him so he didn't get stained. We'll find out after. And the last thing he hits is the fridge, and the chocolate donuts.
They'll come out. It's like, oh, there they are.
That's my story.
I do wonder about the location, because it does scream to me like almost like Middle East, or maybe some sort of like Trucial Abysmia.
They put that tone in there, like that golden kind of deserty look tone, and wondering what the choice was there. But yeah,
sort of like the kind of simple building kind of material based situation as well, like the kind of the tan walls and all that kind of stuff. I wonder if it is kind of hinting towards that. Like in that first image, it could really be anywhere. It could be like on the coast of like it could be on like the northwest coast of the United States. It could be like an island in the middle of like the friggin' Caribbean. Like you don't know where that is. Like it could be anywhere. But this particular one, there's almost like a hint of a location in a strange way. It does scream to me like it would be sort of like a Trucial Abysmia sort of vibe, even though they probably wouldn't be thinking True Shalabismia because that is a made-up thing in G.I. Joe Marvel comics. But, you know, Middle East at least.
Yeah, I feel like, I think it's just the color of it, right? And then they obviously put some plaster together here so they could then chip it away. And then they put that wire inside, that fake rebar, which I love.
Brilliant.
You pointed it out. I love it. If you think about the Benelux catalog from 1990, where the tomahawk shot is, and it's coming in, they did that there too with little rebar pieces, and it's such a nice little touch. It really sells it to me. You know,
100%.
if you take it out, it's still okay. Maybe they went a little ham on it on the top.
What does the text say in the dossier?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah,
because
I did not translate it. I probably could.
Well, this is the thing. I did translate a bunch of them a little while ago. I had to go through like painstakingly type it all out. But I'm sure it does say some stuff, but a lot of the time it's quite generic, and I don't think it's always necessarily talking about the scene that's being shown.
Right. Well, on this spread here, where he is, you've got the Hydro Viper 1 story here, and his story here, right? It's all in Dutch, right? So, I wonder what it says.
Tell me! I can't! Not without the code word! What code word? Tell me! Tell me the code word! Tell me! I don't know!
Okay, so I translated this using whatever built-in Mac OS translation tool this is. I don't know how accurate this is. It's pretty long. What's really funny about this is he's called Bruto, and he's born in Go Blue, Michigan, according to wherever we are here. So this is the translation verbatim as it's told. Okay. Infrequent character, to say the least. His ugliness hides an even uglier soul. Since his earliest childhood, Bruto has never been touched by the slightest scruples, and he will never hesitate to take a G.I. Joe by treachery. The other Cobras themselves distrust him. Fortunately, he is even more stupid than evil. Even his superhuman strength often compensates for his deficient IQ. Then it also says, you better not cross him. You better not cross his pad too much. His pad, is that a
path,
poor
maybe?
Translation, or was this his pad?
Maybe that was his house. Yeah.
He destroyed his own place. That's the least you can say about whatever that word is. It's not translated. There is even more boastful soul hidden after his bangly appearance. Already from his childhood, he goes through life without any scruples again. For example, he has never hesitated to attack G.I. Joe. Oh, that's what this is. I'm an idiot. This is the reason this is so similar to the other ones is it's 2 languages right here. There's 2 languages.
Got it.
It's translated twice.
Belgian.
I don't know. One's Dutch
And Dutch.
One's something
else.
else.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what it is. So that's maybe why they had to do this. But still, I think what they did is they set themselves back on the first spread. They have an overall narrative about whatever's going on.
Right,
and then there's a Cobra Commander image. But now they're behind.
Out of sync a little bit.
I think they get out of sync because they probably do Cobra Commander story on the back of that one. And now they're on the backs all the time.
So so it's not given us any like information about the narrative as such, and that's all I really wanted to make sure of, because I didn't want to be saying, oh, it's obviously in True Shalabismia, and it wasn't. It was in
I feel like they wrote these as like mini dossiers, probably independently or even prior to the photo shoot, and the photographer just didn't have them and and wasn't going to recreate the generic dossier. There's nothing to really recreate there.
They changed a lot of the names of the characters, and they changed a lot of their sort of file card information in general, even if they had it. Like we did it in the UK, it was done in multiple different countries, as we're seeing here right now. So I don't know if it was because they didn't have that information, or if they were doing it on purpose from a cultural standpoint, changing information out of file cards and kind of just just doing it from scratch. They probably looked at this character and went, yeah, he looks a bit like one of these. He looks like a Bruto or whatever it was.
Right. Yeah.
And we'll go with that. But yeah.
Yeah.
Funny.
I think if I did funny, he's born in Michigan. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
All right.
Yep. Right.
Next up. All right. So we've talked about Road Pig having a tantrum. Next up, but we're staying in the Dreadnought realm of things. But we're going to our first vehicle of this review, and it is the Dreadnought Cycle. Road Pig,
And
Bruto,
Pig again.
whatever his name is, makes an
Bruto's
appearance
back.
again.
Yeah.
It's after he destroyed his pad, and then he's like, "Well, I got nowhere to live," and he had to call Monkey Wrench and be like, "Can I sleep at your place?"
He's picking him up.
Monkey Wrench came to pick him up. That's my story. What about you?
I agree. I think that's exactly what's happened here. This one makes me laugh because again, looks phenomenal. Beautiful, kind of like that kind of sky background in the background, kind of dusky sort of like. You don't necessarily know if it's sunset or sunrise. Probably sunset at this point. Sky usually does this around sunset, where it doesn't usually necessarily do that around sunrise.
Right.
So I would say this is kind of like, in my head, kind of like turning into the evening. They're in the middle of the desert somewhere. Now, this could be anywhere. It could be, like I said before, it could be like a Middle East thing. It could be kind of following on from where we just were. It could also be in the middle of America somewhere. So I think, this is a could be anywhere scenario. But what I find really funny about this, Paul, is the fact that they're getting some sort of wheelie going in the most unorthodox way possible. Like, they've had to come down, like from the left-hand side, they've had to come down. And I don't know if they've kind of gone so fast that they've jumped the gap, landed on the back wheels, and are about to kind of go again, or if they've gone like that. They've kind of come down and then they're about to go back up again and hit a gnarly jump. But it's kind of fun, this one. It's like Monkey Wrench was just like, I don't care. We're going for a flight here, Pig. Like, there's no two ways about it. We're flying in a second.
Yeah. He's just revving, popping that wheelie. I mean, imagine how hard it would be to pop a wheelie, let alone maintain one in something of this size and weight.
It's probably the back weight of Road Pig allowing that to happen, isn't it? Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. It's not that Monkey Wrench isn't doing anything. It's just that Road Pig's so heavy, it just keeps the wheel off the ground the whole ride.
I love it. Like, I think it's like they've gone over that hill and they're coming down and they're just going to be level because of the weight of Road Pig in the back. And they're just going to go down the hill like that all the way.
That's really funny. Yeah, I like that.
It's cool.
I like the environment. To me, it's like kind of like a mountainous terrain, obviously. So you have some like almost forced perspective where that little ridge in the distance is way closer. But because they've kind of just sprinkled a little bit of whatever white paint, whatever there is on top, it looks like a peak. Yeah. And now it's playing as if it's a mountain, but that's much further away. But really, it's not.
No, it's like probably 3 inches from that motorcycle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just out of focus, just enough, but not too much to obscure it.
It's amazing how much depth and size you get from this particular dio as well. And I think you're right. I think it's probably not that big at all. Although you've done a lot of long dioramas where you've got like a big space that you then take, you get those kind of depthy shots. So they're probably doing something very similar along those lines. But
there's definitely distance, just not as much as you think.
Right.
Yeah. The lighting's interesting to me. Like, there's several hits of light. Now, obviously the sky's like a purple, almost like a He-Man, right? Filmation.
Yes, it's a Frazetta background, isn't it? Right.
Yeah. Which I love because it's kind of sci-fi and it's cool and otherworldly, and this kind of mountainous terrain is kind of otherworldly too. This could also be a set from like Star Trek, or something.
Yes.
But what I love about it is, even though the lighting isn't quite matching the color of the sky, there is several hit points of light, which to me is implying that there's cloud cover and the sunlight is being broken into different beams. You know what I mean? So that it's near the mountain, it's hit to highlight the mountain, obviously, from a technical standpoint, but then also it's hitting different points in the foreground, and it's very, very interesting. that they.
It's funny. It is funny to me because again, it's another one where they've really just not bothered with the actual vehicle and the figures. It's like they're going to be in like really poorly lit, and everything else is going to look like something out of a movie landscape. Like the actual diorama is highlighted and shown off in such a magnificent way, and yet the figures feel like an afterthought almost, even though that's not really the case. And I think it does go along with the sun being either like I said, either setting or being hindered in some way by the clouds, and that's why we're getting this sort of like patchy light coming through, and not anywhere near the dreadnoks, which is kind of funny. But again, like it shows the depth, it shows the distance. It really does. This is such a like a crazy cinematic scene, and then there's a very poorly lit vehicle in there as well.
Yeah, it's just, oh man. And so this is one of those we talked about earlier, how it's leading. So it's in the back left corner, or the back top left, right? So left, and it's moving, and the road is taking you down to the bottom right. Yeah, there's already some tracks on the ground, so maybe that was the original journey, right? Or they're going up and down, and that's an important thing, and I bring it up in the other episodes too. This is now, the tracks are behind it a little bit, you can kind of see, but there's more road in front. Obviously it's not going backwards, so either it came up and went down, or that was the original journey too,
or they're following someone back.
Or they're following someone. But if this, anywhere you place a vehicle in a toy photography shot, if there is no tracks leading to that point, it's very suspect. You gotta remember to put tracks on the ground. It got there somehow. A helicopter didn't just drop it there. Maybe.
Or although it looks like it did. It looks like it did. It looks like it fell out of the sky in this position, didn't it?
Right. Yeah. So it adds a little more story here. Like, there's tracks in front of it, which means something happened. They're chasing someone. It came this way. Now it's going back. It's 100%. Building out more of a story. There's a little dirt on the tires. Very important. Again, if I drop my Vamp into a muddy area and I take a picture of it, and the wheels look like it came off a showroom, it's not very believable. So
I think this one would have benefited from some like dust kick up at the back. If they'd have done some sort of thing like, when they took the pictures, like just thrown sand or something, like little dust or something, just towards where Road Pig was, just to kind of make it look like they're kicking some stuff up. Because I think that's always one thing that you kind of, really shows that dynamism and the movement, and makes it kind of like embeds it a little bit more in reality, is to show the kind of effect that the vehicle is having on its environment. And I think that would be great. A nice little effect on this, just like a little kick up of dust at the back would have been a perfect little touch.
Yep. And then again, much easier to do in the digital age.
Big time.
But you could have gotten away with it. They totally could have done it then. Had a little compressed air, like a keyboard cleaner. Nowadays you could put the little red straw there, hit the blast, and Photoshop.
You could probably come up underneath it as well.
That's a good call.
Squirt it out of a hole or something out of the dio, but
this is probably a foam and plaster or plaster dio. So it's probably hollow under there anyway. So you're right. You could have just run a tube, put a hole behind the tire.
Just let someone put their mouth on it and go. But
I think they have an OSHA violation.
It's cool though. It's fun, and again, very, very very grandiose, this image.
This is like a hero shot, kind of a, it's landscape, right? It's gonna, its catalog is split up between landscape images and portrait images. When you have the space, the landscape images are always more impressive, unless you're on Instagram and it's the opposite. But in this scenario, it works great. I did translate this, by the way, just now.
Oh, okay.
Want to hear the translation.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. 3 wheels, 2 missiles, 1 machine gun. This is pretty good actual copy. This is the Predator Chopper, Cobra's favorite vehicle for small operations. Now, this is where the dio lines up a little bit.
Predator Chopper. This is amazing.
The road is never too rocky or the slope too steep. On the other hand, 3/4 of the time, the Cobra's right off piste. I don't know what that is. Piste.
Off-piste. Off-piste.
Off-piste? Okay.
Yeah, it means, so it's often used in like skiing. If you're not on, piste is like the, everyone's going down a certain track. And off-piste means you're not on the designated track. You're kind of like going through trees and
Okay, cool.
stuff. That's effectively what that means.
That's great. I love it. Okay, the first time I've ever heard
Off
that.
track, basically. Off track,
Yeah.
let's say, off the beaten track.
I like it. Okay, and then the last sentence is, what seems to them to be the easiest way to get where they are least expected, and to open fire without leaving their victims the opportunity to defend themselves. So that is what this translates to. Interesting. I should have done this for all of them. This is a great idea. I should have had you on the first episode. What was I thinking?
I'm just always trying to find like the detective details to find out what the answers are. And I'm just maybe it's hidden in the text. I'm constantly on a National Treasure, Indiana Jones, Tomb Raider vibe. I'm constantly trying to find this stuff. It's hilarious.
That's funny.
It's like the listings.
Oh yes, the listings. Yeah, this is what this is coming from. Now we know. And now it's half the battle.
And knowing is half the battle.
Okay,
Amazing.
all right.
Can we also just say that the Predator chopper is one of the funniest names for anything, because a chopper is a kind of like a jokey term for an appendage on a male, if that makes sense. A wiener or a wang, a chopper, and a predator chopper would effectively be the Predator from the movies, and it's Chopper. So I find that quite funny.
Funny. You guys' slang is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Some of the slang
slang terms are hilarious.
Yeah. I was just like, wait, what are they calling it? Like, okay, I'm going to ask you a random question because I was just, of course, that's why I was watching Space. This is a pretty simple one, but like all the apartments are called flats. And I'm like, where did flat start? Like, what's that?
I don't know the etymology, but I know that a flat is an apartment, basically.
Yeah, I just we don't call them that here, and I wonder where that came to be, because they say it all the time, and I'm like,
I don't know what the etymology is at all. Actually, I never really thought about it.
I prefer it because it's a single syllable and it's easy to say. Apartment is a mouthful. But yeah, okay, all right. Anything else to say about this one? No, I think we got it. I think we covered it. All right.
Oh, this is why. The word flat originates from the Old English flet, which meant a dwelling, hall, or floor. Oh. Essentially, a flat is a dwelling that is one flat level, hence the name.
There you go. That makes sense. Okay, good to know. Now I know. I like to record these little things. So next time it comes up, I will look like I'm really smart. I'm like, did you know?
Did you know? It's from the Old English flet.
Yeah, I just have a glass of wine out of nowhere. I wasn't even drinking one. Did you know? And I'm doing the sniff thing. Flat is the origin of this term. Okay. All right. Let's move on to our boy.
Is it Falcone? Yes, it is.
It is Falcone.
Lovely stuff.
All right. I did translate this one too.
Cool.
He is still born in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Of course.
The story is very interesting. I don't know what. Do you know what OEIL is? Oil or oil? I don't know how to say that word. I don't think it translates.
Give context, and I might better work it out.
Well, get ready for some context. A long time ago lived in North America a great Indian chief named Oil de Falcon. He was nicknamed for his strength, speed, and precision. Falcon could have been this great Indian leader if history had not wanted him to be at the head of all the rebels of the good in the world rather than a single tribe. Able to decapitate a poisonous snake with a single stroke of his teeth, this survival champion feels as comfortable in the middle of the African jungle as in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. Doctor by training, this leader of crowds goes from the stethoscope to the machine gun as we go from softness to strength, according to the circumstances.
Amazing.
To succeed, he knows only one rule: to be accepted, persuaded, trained, and led. One more string to the G.I. Joe bow. Interesting. This Makes is no sense. Poetic and also insane.
It's so confusing. Like, I don't know if like he is the Indian, like the
Is he the
native,
leader or the is he
indigenous-
being led? I don't
is
know
he the
which.
indigenous tribe member or is he someone else from Lafayette, North Carolina? I can't tell. But I love the fact that they've gone to town on his survivalist thing, and then because of, you know, he probably looks that way. He's got the machete,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
got the knife, hasn't he? So he's got like the survival knife. He's got the camouflage and everything. They're looking at the green beret, and they're probably just going, okay, well, we'll put him in like survivalist situation in camouflage, in like, and this is another beauty. This is like not necessarily in the middle of the shot, but it's kind of near enough. But it's almost showing, like, I think you'd probably say this. It's always again showing you the direction of where he is going and where he has come from. I feel like he's come from like not fully the top left of the image, but like towards the top left of the image.
Yeah.
He's walking to like in that direction, coming almost into this outcrop, sort of like exposed area. And he's either going to hug the touchline still, or he's going out to some sort of item, maybe a boat that's in the water, maybe one of those like, you know, there's kind of like in like Rambo movies and stuff. You see that there's little kind of, I think what they're called. Like there's like kind of little tugboat type things, just like long elongated boats that kind of chug along basically. In every one of those movies. I could see
right. I don't
like
know
that.
what they're called. Yeah. It's got that very, well, I mean, the figure helps, right? But I've got a very Commando-esque vibe here. Very Southeast Asia too, right? With the mud in the jungly kind of look. And I love that it's actual mud. Like they put some dirt down, put some mud, then it put some moss in it. These little like ferns are in there, which are really cool.
They did actually say in the narrative bit, they did say West African jungle. And I don't think that's necessarily a coincidence that maybe this is what we're looking at here.
Yeah. He says Amazon rainforest too. So,
yes, that's true. So it could be either of those places, really, couldn't it? Yeah, totally.
Yeah, the little reeds. What's that?
Amazon rainforest probably makes more sense.
Yeah, the little reeds of whatever those are, the grass coming out, like it's out of scale, but it's also not. Depends on what it is. If you're in Amazon rainforest, it could be anything.
Right.
So I love the look of it. I do like these coming from the top left corner, what appears to be the trail, and there's a lot of room in front of him. And he's coming toward the camera to that open space. Again, tighter crop, you'd see the figure bigger, but you lose the sense of environment in the story. And also, I think like the way this is set up, it's got a little foreboding mixed in. I feel like you don't know what's ahead of them. You know, could be
bunch of Hydra Vipers.
Could be Hydra Vipers. Yeah, could be Shadow Tracker hiding there in the background. You know how that goes.
There's a snake armor in there, mate. There's a snake armor in there.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite shots because the tone, it's got that kind of like warm tone to it. They could have gone like, you know, toy photography to make things seem more real. You go down to eye level with the figure, but then you lose the environment. So you'll lose something if you get down to eye level. So it's a trade-off. And you're highlighting the toy here. So, you know, get down to eye level, you won't see kind of the top shoulders, top of the hat of him.
The backpack.
So the backpack knife might be obscured, right? Yeah.
I love the fact that they're highlighting his camouflage feature and they're not like just, you know, it's one of those things where all the figures have been very much sort of like hidden a little bit. In, you know, and I kind of like that. I like the fact that it's not so obvious and in your face, and you just, you know, there's a feeling, and that feeling is overriding the marketing pull of just focus on the action figure and do that. So I love it. I think it's really nice in that, again, we're seeing this really cool camouflage. There's an element here of like, this is a bit of fun for the person that's viewing this. Like a kid looking at this is going to enjoy this in the same way that they enjoy Spot the Difference or finding like where's Wally, where's Waldo, that kind of thing. There's sort of like that element of, I wonder if there's another like person or whatever hidden in this, you know, in this kind of shot. And it kind of it encourages you to kind of maybe do that sort of thing, or it certainly does for me.
It would be cool if we did accidentally spot somebody hiding in the bushes back there. But yeah, I love it. It's probably one of my favorite shots in this book or in all these books. And I think really for me, it comes down to kind of how they've kind of compose the image with that realistic terrain. I think that muddy terrain really sells it, you know.
And
so.
also, I love the fact that sometimes the leaves will give it away as well in terms of the size of the leaves. But I love the fact that they've basically utilized those leaves and they look proper. They look like just a big plant that you'd see in the Amazon rainforest. So yeah, can see the predator's blood all over that. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Amazon, you know, if you're naming like African jungles and Amazon rainforests, there's a lot of oversized vegetation, and that just makes sense. I still would love to know what these little fern things are, because if those are actual little plants that I can get, then I want them, because they look pretty good with this, but they'll look even better with like classified scale figures. Perfect.
Yeah. Probably indigenous to the Netherlands and Belgium, though.
I was talking to, I think, Mate about this, how like we have so much access to everything now, Amazon and whatever else. Yet when I look at these old photos from the 80s, whatever they're using for diorama stuff just seems so much better. Sand looks better. The stuff here looks better. I'm like, how come I can't find this stuff now? Where is this stuff?
They really had to think about it as well, didn't they? Like, it was one of those things where you'd have to go out, like, let's see what we can find. Like, let's scavenge, let's find some things that will make sense. I mean, the mud on here as well. I mean, it looks real because his feet are submerged, but you know, like, what's that? Is that actual mud? Have they just got like a bowl and just filled it with crap? Like,
I'm assuming that's what they did. Yeah, or they put down dirt and then put water on it and got it muddy. But it would make sense to just put it in a bowl, like you said, mix it up,
get it with a lip, just something with a bit of a lip around it, kind of like an edge, so that it wouldn't spill over the edge, sort of thing.
You could totally just do anything like a baking sheet or something.
Right.
You know, I've done that. The Crocmaster shots I did where I made the swamp, I basically I had a cage liner for like a animal cage. Like a big plastic cage liner.
Yeah.
And then I put a piece of foam on it, and I carved out like a divot into the foam, and then I just poured the water in there and everything. So that way I could shoot it indoors. But still ate through the bottom of the foam, but some of it leaked out, but it went into the bed liner or the cage liner. So I was good. Cool. All right. That one is Falcone or Falcone, they call him here. So let's move on to, we've got couple left, and we're going to move on to some nice little, everyone's favorite motorized fun little
we're back here, man.
Action
the motorized battle packs, we're back,
and the accessory packs with the that includes the brown and the gray, and then that awful yellowy color
beachhead
satchel. I had choice for a color.
I had that very set, that accessory pack, because I had I lost Footloose's original helmet, so I got the brown version with the leaves on it, which you can see between Mainframe's backpack and his beat generator. Or Lifeline's backpack, sorry. Lifeline's backpack and Mainframe's beat generator. But and I also had what else did I have to replace? There was something else I had to replace in here too. I think it was the brown. Oh no, I was really happy to have the brown M16 with the grenade launcher, because I didn't have Leatherneck or any other figure that came with that. So I was really happy to have one of those in brown, and I think that made its way around a lot of my favorite figures, that machine gun. So
that's the. Some of these made it around. The brown, Leatherneck one was a favorite of mine. The dark gray Viper one.
Viper rifle's really cool, isn't it?
I used for bats, and I used for, what else I used it on? Some other Cobra Trooper. But it worked great for them. You know what I mean? I think bat was the number one, because then I could put bats with Vipers and they'd have the same weapon, but they were different. They were different colors, you know?
It was such a weird thing, but I did like it. I like the thought of maybe using a different helmet on some other figure and seeing if it fit, but I don't know if I ever really got them to fit on any other figures. Like Roadblock's probably the best option, isn't he? Like, he's the one that may just about fit the helmets.
Which makes it a weird choice that they made the helmet brown.
Right.
Because it looks like he's got some big growth on his head. Like, Roadblock, you okay, buddy?
How have you got goggles growth on your forehead? Like, what's going on here?
You got a tumor growing off the top of your head.
Yeah. Tumor. Yeah, I was always really fascinated as well, yeah, by that beachhead satchel and by the fact I had mainframe and lifeline, so I didn't need those items. But I tended to, I've definitely got, there's definitely been situations where I've used them. So I don't know what that's about. But it's really cool to get mainframe's deck again, because you could get like set up like a little station, like a little like comm station.
Mm-hmm. And that's basically, the same color, right? And that rarely happened in these packs. And I don't know if you know, I was talking about this in one of the previous episodes. It's like, what was the thought process behind making accessory packs in weapons, but not giving them the original colors? So they weren't obviously thinking about like, oh, well, these aren't the ones that came with the figures. So like if someone resells it, they won't be the actual thing that came with the figure. You know what I mean?
Who knows?
For collectability. So somebody made a choice, and I was also thinking, well, it could be whatever plastic colors were available, but every pack would vary greatly.
I think it was a thing of they were like, well, what can we run that we need to run plastic color for, that we've got too much of, or we've got like excess of, or whatever, and they probably just went, okay, we've got yellow, we've got brown, we've got this gray color. We need to get through some of that. Okay, how about an accessory pack? Okay, let's just run them and do that.
Yeah, it's not so much what's on hand, but what they had excess of. That makes sense. Yeah. Of course, that yellowy, awful one. Of course, they'd have excess of that. It's the worst.
What were they even using that for? I can't think of anything that was that color.
Yeah, well, but the factory could have been making beige air purifiers or something. Who knows?
That's very true. Yeah, that's true. Could be anything, couldn't it? Anyway, yeah. I've got to say, I always enjoyed that they made these so much cooler than they ever needed to be, because they are just effectively kind of goofy motorized little backpacks and things and stuff, and some of them are kind of fun, some of them are a little bit pointless, but I love the fact they always went all out with these dio shots for them. And like, now we've got this kind of like really intricate, like, this isn't just a thrown together little, I mean, it's got levels for each figure to kind of be on, it's got little like, it's got foliage, it's got all sorts going on, it's got like a nice kind of like painted wash on it, it's got some little bits of sand have been sprinkled on there. It's very intricate and it's very cool looking, and they always did this with these things.
Yeah, that is the stuff that, I mean, that's honestly toy photography, like what sold me when I was a kid. And I would take my mom's Polaroid outside and I would try to like shoot my Joes terribly in environments and stuff. Yeah. But what got me jazzed about it was these little settings. Obviously, this is some kind of plaster diorama. They, again, have awesome little foliage. I would love to know what the hell these are. These little pine tree looking foliage.
Really cool.
And then
it looks like Christmas tree, honestly. I think it's just Christmas tree bits, which is genius, isn't it?
Think of how small those are compared to the figures, though.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? They're miniature. Maybe they're off like a mini, like, tabletop tiny Christmas tree or something.
Could be.
Who knows?
Could be.
But yeah, they put a little wash, a little dirt on them, put a little sand on them, and it just like sells it.
It just looks real.
They're placed there, but then they also had some thought to, maybe we should make these look like they're doing something. And I like how they've got them kind of like all staggered on different levels of this multi-level whatever rock structure, and then you've got Roadblock set up with all the gear, like he's
going through organizing it.
Yeah. It's very cool. I love it. It's similar to, there's a Cobra shot in this catalog, same way. I talked about that with Mate. And it's just very fun. That one is all Vipers, which is fun.
Yeah.
They made a choice there to like use all troops. Here, obviously, there's no Joe troops, so you have each guy individually. I think color-wise, good choices.
Big time. The fact
like
you've got
red crazy legs. Yeah.
Sci-Fi doing the Minesweep as well, sort of like a bit of a technical kind of process, and he looks a little bit kind of futuristic,
right?
And then you've got Crazy Legs there, with that sort of like, it's like a harpoon sort of missile sort of grappling hook thing.
I forget what that's called. And
then you've got Mainframe, always very well known for operating heavy weapons.
Well, that's the one here, which makes no sense. Roadblock, the heavy machine gunner, should be with the machine gun, and he's handling Mainframe's computer.
Gear, mostly his gear in it. Yeah, totally.
So that's
too funny.
But yeah, I think that thing Crazy Legs on is like a mortar launcher. You know? But yeah, there's that, like, this is like one of those collection shots that I just love to stare at. I don't know what it is. You know, this one doesn't have a lot of story going on. They're just set up, but it's just fun to see them in these environments.
I think if I'd been in charge of this particular shoot, I might have put Mainframe pointing in the other direction. I might have put him going, like, pointing off to the right, so that you had that sort of, like, you know, like staggered thing going down.
Right. I like it.
But I get what they're doing. It's like Mainframe and Crazy Legs have isolated the threat. Like there's a threat over on the left-hand side, and that was their narrative. So I understand that. I think from a visual perspective, it would have made a bit more sense to have that happening, because then you kill some of that negative space in the top right-hand corner, but then you do have a lot of negative space in the top left-hand corner. So maybe it makes sense for them to put Mainframe where they are, because if they swung him round, he wouldn't necessarily be with the backpack in the middle of the shot. He'd probably be to the right a little bit.
Yep.
So I get it. I do. I get why they've done it.
No, from a balance standpoint, I would, like, my gut wants to turn them the other way, and then you have this zigzag pattern. You know, it goes Mainframe down to Crazy Legs, down to Roadblock, over to, you know, Sci-Fi. You know, which is really cool. Yeah,
lovely.
All right,
man. You cannot go wrong with a staggered Rocky Crag layout like that, because they've done it so often, and it always looks amazing.
Yeah, if you think about even like, I know they weren't necessarily. There's some kind of, I don't know, I want to say there wasn't a lot of hero shots in the latest classified 4-figure wave of Cobra Commander and Snake Eyes and Monkey Wrench, and they're just standing in a rocky surface, right? But there was 1 or 2 shots of Snake Eyes rappelling, you know, up the side, and anytime you can put a figure on a cliffside or on some kind of rocky formation, it's vertically stepped, it just makes it look so much cooler.
There's that famous or iconic one of Hit and Run where he's hanging from the crag in just the open space around him, but it's like framed by the rocks. Absolutely one of my favorite.
Spoiler alert for the next series of Dossier shots.
But that's a beauty. That is an absolute beauty. But that's in the future. We're in the present. We're in the
future, which is also the past.
Yeah, we're in the past, which is the now, and also will be the future soon. What?
Speaking of future, there is one more photo in our future that I almost forgot, and I just recalled, and I've loaded up and ready to go. Are you ready for the final shot?
I'm not going to cook it, but I'll order it from Zanzibar.
How did you know? It is our boy Zanzibar in one of the
greatest
insane dioramas I've seen in toy photography. Like, just again, no need to go this far, guys. But they're like, you know, just put the guy in some. He's kind of a vehicle. You can put him over water. He's a pirate. You know,
how?
You're like, oh, we got it. Don't worry, we got it.
Can you tell me why? How are they? How is he? How is he? Is it like rope being like that's been removed from the shot that's holding him, like a cable that's holding him up in that position? Is he on a stick?
I would assume it's fishing line that's either been removed, right? You know, fishing line, probably in 2 or 3 points so that he stays stable and it's hanging from fishing line.
Yeah.
Because it would have been the easiest to either post-edit back then in a dark room. If it could be on a pole, but you've got all those reeds back there and to the sides, those reeds, you know?
Yeah.
To take that out, that would have been tough. So I'm thinking
see much. The thing is, I can't see much in like the background of like distortion, or I mean, there probably is if you really, really looked at it, but it just looks phenomenal if they have done that.
Yeah, and it was a thing where I do know that was like a regular thing, like with fishing line, to hang stuff in shots like this and then to take it out manually back in the day.
It's gorgeous.
Sometimes it would be as simple as if the background was out of focus enough and the fishing line was translucent enough, it would kind of just disappear into there.
Can I also say, even saying like, yeah, it's just fishing line, what a ball ache getting it in the exact position.
Yes.
I've tried that has to be on some sort of like you say, like a pole or something that you can move around a little bit to some degree, get it in the right spot roughly, and then be able to lower it to the right point. Like, what a pain in the ass that would have been.
Yeah, I mean, think about not only that, but there's also wind happening here. There's some wind hitting the water to create that ripple effect.
Unreal.
So now you're thinking like, okay, if it is in fact fishing line, he'd be moving around.
Yeah.
But they did, if you look closely, the wind is funneled down behind him.
Yeah.
Right? So if they have it in like kind of a snoot, you know what I mean, where that wind is directed basically in a tube straight down.
It won't affect him. Yeah.
It won't affect him. Right. And one other thing I want to show you, and I'm going to paste this in.
It's so good though, isn't it? How they've done that.
Oh, it's so good. Just to think about putting the ripples in the water at all is an incredible amount, and
how perfect they are, and how they kind of like come all the way to the front of the image. Like, you could have taken a few shots as the ripples were starting and had all that space at the beginning that just didn't have anything. Have you found something?
Well, I zoomed in and took a screenshot. So here's a couple things that could obscure some fishing line. One is the fact that, well, it's printed in halftone, right? So there's a lot of halftone pattern going on here. Another, you see all those vertical lines on the backdrop?
Yes.
Coming down? So that is either, and I'd have to look closer at the rest of the image, it's either overlaid on the entire image or that's part of the backdrop. So
it looks like some of the lines look like they're over the actual image. Like, I can see a line that runs on the orange mechanism on the back of his thing. But yeah,
I see it. So if you overlay this on top of the image, any other slight vertical line is going to get obscured. So this could be overlaid just to hide some possible, fishing line.
That's ruddy genius. That's ruddy genius. It looks great. Zanzibar looks so good in that thing. Now, you're talking about classified figures. I think the Zanzibar would be a phenomenal classified figure.
I mean,
skiff or no skiff, he'd be phenomenal.
Right. Yes, exactly. I mean, this is one they could totally do. I can see Darklon's Vader being a little too big, but this is basically a chair with some guns and a fan on the back. Like, this could be done. This is like Serpentor Air Chariot size, basically. You know? But think about this. Who do we have left? Thrasher?
Burnout.
Thrasher? And but then you get into like Zanya or something. I don't. Those are more peripheral. I'm sure we'll get one, right? Or a Heart Wrencher, right?
Yeah.
But I'm thinking on the original run.
Original run. There's not much left, if there's anything left, other than like you say, Thrasher and Zanzibar.
Yeah. So who's likely to come first, Thrasher or Zanzibar? What do you think?
Probably Thrasher, because everyone talks about the Thunder Machine on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And if they don't do that, I'd be really surprised. It might, like Lenny has said in the past, that a HasLab Thunder Machine is too small. But he hasn't said no to a Thunder Machine happening. I could see it being at a retail kind of level, but at the same time, I think they might have to just bite the bullet and do it as a HasLab. And I guarantee you could throw some other extras in there if you wanted to bulk it up a bit. You could throw in, more figures. You could throw in a Dreadnought Chaos in there. You could throw in a friggin' Heart Wrencher, or maybe even like the Monkey Wrench repaint that we get in the artwork for the Thunder Machine. They could do another character called I've called him Spanner, but you could do the denim blonde version of Monkey Wrench, and just do that. Like, there's so many different things you could throw in there, and of course you could do a Sonic Fighters Road Pig. You could do you could do all sorts of cool stuff. You could really go to town with it. You could do another Xandar,
Cletus and Clyde and whatever those guys are.
All right, get out. You've had your chance. But
This weird
how about this? How about this? Right, Zorana in the black in the kind of cold slither groupie sort of situation.
Yeah.
Check.
Yeah, or something new. Just mash up a figure into something new.
Death Metal, the one that was we've never seen anything other than a tiny drawing of a head.
Yeah,
with the dreads and the skull mask.
Yeah, well, is that the guy with the side ponytail in the prison wrecking ball thing? No, that was a different guy.
What was his name?
I forget his name. Scar. It was Scar.
Yes. Yeah.
There's that dude.
There's a lot of cool stuff you could kind of draw out there. 100%.
Or the hockey mask guy. What that guy?
That's Chaos. That's Chaos.
That's right. That's Chaos. Yeah. But yeah, any of that. But how funny would it be if they like don't do that and they come out with Zanzibar with their skiff and it's like 2028 and there's still no Thunder Machine, no Thrasher?
I wouldn't be too fussed because it you know, like give it enough time, it'll come. Like that's the thing. Like the only thing that you can bet your bottom dollar that they're going to get to the most of the things that the majority of people want. Thunder Machine seems to be pretty high up there. I would be surprised if we don't get a Thunder Machine in the next, 3 years or whatever.
Yeah, it's just from the amount of like they listen to the fans, right? There are also 18 months. Right now, anything they're working on is like 18 months out, but we've been hearing everybody clamoring for it for like 2 years.
If it isn't in development, I'd be surprised in some way, shape, or form. But anyway, this shot, mate, is gorgeous. The lighting is beautiful. The sky background is gorgeous. Everything about this is just perfection, in my opinion. I love all of the different reeds and the different like elements around like the water and everything. The little mountain in the background. It's just really, it's like a really sweet like landscape, and then you get him just skiffing along on it.
Yeah, and it's like sunset. The lighting is on point. Yeah.
But the thing for me that really nails this is just the almost perfection of the lines of those ripples, just like all like converging on him and all like spreading out, but like perfectly spread out on the page. It's just the most naturally perfect layering of all of those things, and I think it just absolutely slaps. This image absolutely slaps.
Yeah, and this is one of those ones where he's top left, he's going to the bottom right. You've got that lead in front of him. The ripples are helping kind of you lead. It's leading you to the right corner. And yeah, like layers. Like talk about layers here. You've got the backdrop, which is furthest away, which is probably like a roll of old backdrop, which I'm so jealous of some of these sky backdrops you see in these old photography, not just toys, other photography. I'm like, oh my God, look at that backdrop. Like if I could just find a roll of these to use, I have a TV, I can put anything on it, but some of these backdrops are just gorgeous. Yeah. So you have a backdrop, you've got some rocks that they've now completely silhouetted, which is reminiscent of the 1985 North American Cross-Sell catalog when they had those like silhouetted mountains.
100%.
Then you've got some water and reeds. Then you've got him. Then you've got more water and rocks and moss. And then you've got the reeds all the way in the foreground out of focus. So you've got just layers to the shot, it just seems to go on forever. I love it.
It's great. It's so good. The real sense of depth and distance and motion and dynamism. The skiff kind of shows some sort of depression in the water. With the air coming out of it, as we talked about before, and I think that shows you like that there is some sort of lift and power coming out of that thing and leaving some sort of trail, but it's not, and it's it's obviously affecting the water ahead of him as well, which is kind of again very real and natural and feels right, and it just feels great. It feels like the first ripple is from its from its position is just getting to you as well. It feels like you're just getting that first ripple, and that feels like right in my head. Like if he was at that point and going at a certain speed, I feel like the ripples would have reached me at that point. Do you know what I mean? Like that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I do. I feel like he could even be hovering for a second, right, before he
could be holding up.
Continues on. And like it gives him a sense in that with air skiff, a sense of weight and gravity, like it's just floating, kind of defying gravity. It's very cool. Also, I want to point out How awesome was it that his weapons could stow on that
Oh, I
vehicle?
loved it. A spear on the side. I mean,
Such a simple thing, but it made it so much cooler.
it just helps so much. And the
Yeah.
detail on that figure is off the chain. Like,
it really
people do not give Zanzibar credit because they should do, because the amount of detail on even the rips on the sleeves, on the shirt, that like every single detail. There's rips in the bottom of his pants as well. He's just got like so many different sculpted details on there. The eye patch, the rooted hair, the color, the deco choice is phenomenal. The fact he's a pirate basically is brilliant. Like, I always loved the fact, like with the Dreadnoks, you know, you had the poacher, you had the you know, like after they'd done like your classic biker gang, it was then down to like nefarious weirdos, crunchy nefarious weirdos, I would call them. And that's why I kind of feel like, I know people don't agree with me on this, but I kind of feel like Crystal Ball fits them in a good way. And I know people don't really agree with me on that, and that's totally fine. But in my head, I'm happy to have Crystal Ball interacting with the Nox in some fashion. And the same with, you know, people like Shadow Tracker. I feel like he fits that kind of bill of a little bit kind of crunchy and gross and you know. So you've got a tracker, you've got a blimmin' you know, like a mystic, and then you've got your classic, you know, your pirates and your poachers and all those. I love the fact that they were bringing in all these random weird things. And they could kind of find their way into sort of like a Dreadnought vibe, you know, swamp fighters, all those kind of, you know, Copperhead.
That's what I was going to say. I was just going there. There is always in my mind, I mean, this is even pre-Zanzibar, but early on with, through, let's just say through 86, there was like Dreadnought adjacent characters. Like
adjacent is a great way of calling it.
Yeah. So like Copperhead, he's not technically a Dreadnought, but he's hanging out in that area a lot. He's Cobra's almost liaison to the Dreadnoughts because he's also in the swamps all the time, and he has that. And he is kind of a card playing, stinky, doesn't shower, smelly kind of a guy. These are kind of guys he'd hang out with. Is he technically a Dreadnought? No, but he'd be like who Cobra Commander goes, like, go over there and talk to them, go deliver this to them. He's sending Copperhead to do that. You know, and so I could see, like you could see Crystal Ball and Zartan having some things in common, you know,
big time.
But and you know what, I was thinking about a reuse too. Like, what could they reuse to make a classified Zanzibar? Buzzer's boots from the Cold Slither set make a good point there. You could even get away with maybe Monkey Wrench's ripped pants on this guy, you know, so. There's some possibilities for this guy in the future for that.
At least the upper legs could be reused, and then you could do some kind of like fancy stuff with the bottom of the pants for the lower legs. But I agree with you. Like any naked torso, and then you're just doing a secondary. It's real simple in that sense. Like there's a lot of reuse that could be done, and the tools all go on secondaries and the head sculpt.
And they
the
could
head sculpt
do
is amazing.
Oh, dude, yeah, totally. With the mustache and the eye patch. Oh my god. Maybe they would do like Jinx removable eye patch, and he's got like missing eye with like one-eyed Willie, like three, like, what are they, metal balls in his eyeball or something like that. Do something crazy underneath. Do removable ponytails like the Retro Scarlet, something like that. Any of that would be good. But this shot is phenomenal, and I can't believe I almost forgot to put it in.
I'd give him a pirate cutlass and a pirate pistol as well, just to really push that vibe, you know. But I think this is, for me, this is one of the beauties, one of the standouts for me. I love it, absolutely love it.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's it. That's all of it. That's all the shots we got through them. Do you want to hear the? I know 7 hours. Do you want to hear the translation of this before?
Yes,
we go?
I do.
Because I did pull it. Okay. Here we go. Always ready to sell to the highest bidder, Zanzibar ended up on the side of Cobra. The shabby little pickpocket of the past has come a long way since his first theft. He now crisscrosses the seas and coasts on his air scooter. That's what it's called. that strikes terror into anyone. Here
I'm
comes
sorry.
Zanzibar and his air scooter.
No scooter would strike fear in anybody.
Uh,
That's amazing.
It's
An
it's
air
a
scooter.
a small hyper-light and maneuverable vehicle which slits through the air as fast as the missiles with which it is armed. Zanzibar will never hesitate to fire his machine guns at a target that amuses him or on G.I. Joe. His laziness is such that he'd be really cornered for him to decide to draw his harpoon on his favorite target, the G.I. Joes. So I guess he'd have to be really cornered. Otherwise, he's like, I don't care.
Whatever. I'll leave it attached to the scooter. One thing I will say on this one is, if we did get a classified version, in terms of toy photography, how cool would it be to sort of recreate something like this, right? I'm speaking to Matt of Shooting the Galaxy fame and Hasbro fame on Friday. So we've got that lined up on Friday. Cool. What I was going to say to him was, how cool would it be to get like an Akira style pose on the skiff where you're not necessarily full Akira, but like, could you imagine maybe coming from the right and then doing like a hard left on the screen, right?
And the water's
and the water spread out,
pushing away.
He's looking at the camera, and you're looking at him on the skiff almost from above, because he's like put the brakes on, sort of thing. How rad would that look?
That would be amazing. Put a couple Fionas in the water too, kind of underneath him.
Mate, I thought you were going to say put like an idea in his mind, but no, you said put a couple of Fionas in the water, which is genius.
Yeah, like it's blowing the water off of them, and they're like, "What the hell?" But yeah, you should plant the seeds, because if they do this, that would be an awesome shot to put into the promo shots.
I'm going to say, if you guys do any sort of skiff or anything like that, that needs to happen.
You could do 10 shots with this, or you could just do 3 incredibly insane ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just next level, stupid, kind of out of this world toy photography shots.
Oh my god!
Yeah, man,
amazing. Well, thanks so much for doing this. I appreciate it. I'll
it's been
be doing more of these. I'll have you on again as we get into some more of these. I still have never done the 1991 Benelux. I have the scans up. I did the audio podcast on it back in the day, but I never did a video on that one. So maybe that might be one I have to revisit.
Let's do it, man. I'm here for any and all of it. Okay. You know that. I'm down for this. This is so much fun. Toy photography and talking about it is just the best. Love it.
And the reason I'm doing this is because I love listening to people talk about toy photography, and I listen to certain podcasts or / video YouTube channels. And they do a great job, but none are Joe focused. And if Joe does ever come up, a lot of times they don't know the characters, they don't know the backstories. They're not getting references that I'm like, oh my god, the reference is right there, and they're like, I don't understand why this is happening. And I'm like, so if it's what I wanted to do with the podcast, except the podcast turned into a monster. This one, I'll have to do some editing, but
it's a lot more,
way
it's a lot
less.
easier. Yeah, definitely.
But this one, we only did 6 images, and it was like almost 2 hours. I'll have to get better at being more succinct, but it'll be a work in progress.
I can talk for hours on one item of one image. Trust me.
It was great. It was wonderful. Emmy material. A Pulitzer Prize. There was laughing gas and fighting and guns and explosions. I got it all on tape. I gotta get this to my network. Fantastic. What a scoop. Love you. You Joes are great.
But I'd like an explanation for all this. On second thought, forget it.